It's been a busy weekend at the Pacific Cup in Kaneohe. After our first two arrivals on Friday, boats have been coming in around the clock. While most divisions have now been decided, much of the fleet is still at sea and a few divisions are still up for grabs.
We knew we had to work as hard as we could because we knew Motorcycle Irene was going to be the boat to beat.
I mean, it was an awesome run, but they were a machine. It was awesome. Every time we tried to get a little advantage, they were there.
I'm Julia Paxton. I came over on Loose Cannon, number 34. And I'm Will's cousin. Yeah, that's normally how I'm known by. Fortunately, I know Will pretty well, so at every different moment I was like, this is what Will would be doing. We need to try harder. Got out the binoculars and we see a black carbon main and an express rig. I'm like, that can only be Will. And so we saw him, and we actually saw him slatting back and forth, and we actually sailed away from him because you told us where the hole was, and I think that may have been the moment where so you showed us where the biggest hole was, I think.
That was
because we actually saw you.
Where you got the separation.
Yeah.
And I've done this race a bunch. I think this was my 19th crossing to Hawaii, and I've done a bunch of racing on Santa Cruz 70s with the world's best navigators who really know how to play the game and use the tracker and look at the weather. And the game that we played versus them, I've never seen better. Changing the gears and racing to the next shift and planning ahead. It was like racing my shadow, and I was very humbly impressed. You guys did an amazing job.
Now, I'm speechless. Thank you. Oh my God. I'm glad you have that on tape. Yeah.
This thing is my sole endeavor the last couple of years. You know, it's a monster of a boat, and you know, we do not have the financial resources a lot of the people we're sailing against. We just have kind of piss and vinegar, I guess is what you could say. You know, the rig only went into the boat late April, so we haven't sailed the boat that much in its new configuration, and it's quite a bit different. After this race, you know, there's a lot more gas in the tank.
I think anybody can understand friendship. I'm a friend of Hawaii. I came surfing in the year 1960, for the International in Makaha. I sailed my first Transpac in 77. I'm a friend of all of Hawaii, as Hawaii is friends with Peru.
See, no, I'm leaving right now. I'm getting on a plane.
Oh no!
Get out of here. Thank you.
But I'll have a Mai Tai for you.
See you next time.
Take care.
You know, it's just a fantastic race. Any race to Hawaii is a fantastic race, but the year you do it, it's the best race you've ever done, right? So this is I counted my 24th race to Hawaii from the West Coast, and this was by far the most Corinthian race I've ever done. I mean, it was really never got wet. No one ever. There was very little hardship in this race. Just a very nice trade winds. Put the spinnaker up. Cruise along for 6 or 7 days and enjoy life. Having someone you love when you get here, it's that much more special.
Part of it was because knowing that I'd be coming home doing this, and it's awesome, it's fun. The reception you get just from your membership and everybody else, knowing that, you know, you are the Commodore and you got all this stuff going on supposedly, but you're out there doing what you're supposed to do, which is sailing. And that's what we did.
And then once you get in the heavy air, it lights up and it surfs and it's fun, and it was one of the darkest crossings I've ever done. And just a few nights ago, we were getting hit by these squalls with 25, 30 knots of wind, and I was just sitting on the back of the boat, holding the tiller, not knowing what's coming down the road, and the boat just seemed to know its way. And all I could think about is like, Jim Antrim does not get enough credit for being a designer. This boat is amazing.
And the big swells and big wind and sunsets and stars and all the creatures who live in the ocean. So this was
just profoundly, I mean, amazing. Right off the bat, the Hansa, the Swan, etc., we're pushing it. So these guys are all racers in San Diego, and we were pushing it the whole way. So even though it's cruising, like, that was a race for sure.
The bulkhead is beginning to fill. Join us the rest of this week at the Pacific Cup.